Welcome to my Brawler Ashe guide. This is one of the easiest comps to play in the game, so it's a great build to get started with in teamfight tactics. In this video, I'll go over the build, what items you make, how to play the early, mid, and late game, and then we'll finish off going into in-depth positioning. With the new Chosen mechanic, there are a couple of different builds you can get based on which Chosen you find. The strongest out of them all is the 8 Brawler version. Here we have an insanely tanky frontline that protects the Ashe and lets her take out the enemy team without getting touched. The second variation is if you get an Elderwood Chosen. Here our frontline is a bit weaker, but we have more utility units with Lux, Ezreal, and Lulu. This variation is also incredibly strong. The third version is if you get a Hunter Chosen. If the Chosen is Warwick or Ashe, then replace Kindred with another Brawler or a utility unit like Ezreal. But if the Chosen is Aphelios or Kindred, then you have to keep that Chosen. This variation is a bit weaker if Kindred or Aphelios is the Chosen. The fourth variation is if you get a Mystic Chosen. This gives your team a bit more tankiness, and the Mystic unit can add some utility to your team. This is the weakest version out of them all, so you can sell the Mystic unit to find a better one if you have the resources to do so. I will go over what you add in at level 9, or if you even go to level 9 later in the video. Ashe is your primary carry in this build, so most of the focus is going to be on making items for her. Your first priority is going to build Sunfire Cape. This is because the fights last very long in Brawler Ashe, so this item gets a ton of value. This item is incredibly strong throughout all stages of the game, but it can single-handedly win fights in the early game. After that, make the 2 core items for Ashe, which are Giant Slayer and QSS. Giant Slayer is incredibly important, so we beat the other Brawler players and Cultist players. And it also procs on people going for 3-star units. QSS is also very important as Ashe is almost all your damage for most of the game, and if she gets CC'd in any way, your damage output stops. It doesn't matter too much what her third item is, but it should be any of these: Bloodthirster, Hand of Justice, Infinity Edge, Last Whisper, Rageblade, Deathblade, or another Giant Slayer. If you're running 8 Brawlers, then Rageblade will be a bit stronger, and if you're running 6 Elderwood or Hunter Chosen, then IE or Deathblade will be a bit stronger as you get more AD. The frontline items you make are generally items you slam throughout the game, meaning you don't take components from carousels to finish them off unless you're forced to do so. The only exception to this is Sunfire Cape. That item is amazing and a big part of what makes this comp successful. Sunfire Cape goes on your tankiest unit at the time of making the item, which is generally going to be your Chosen unit or Nunu. Other great frontline items are Bramble Vest, Frozen Heart, Gargoyle, Stoneplate, Redemption, Shroud, Thieves' Gloves, Warmogs, Zephyr, and ZZ Rod. Any of these items are fine to slam, just be careful using up components for the other 3 core items. Set wants AP items. He can be a bit hard to hit at times, so never make items for him until you've found him. Most of the time I end up taking items off future carousels to put on him, but the better ones are Gunblade, Deathcap, Jewel Gauntlet, and Hand of Justice. If you get a Spatula, you want to make Elderwood Spat 100% of the time. This is the best item you can put on Set, as he always gets to max stacks due to him running away and doing sit-ups in the middle of the fight. The second best option is to make Divine Spat. This can be a third item for Ashe, or it can be an item for Set. But if you can't make Elderwood Spat, don't worry about turning the Spatula into a component, as most of the other synergies it makes are useless for this build. The carousel priority for this comp is Chain, Sword, Glove, then Bow. Chain is the best by far due to Sunfire Cape being really strong, but it is very contested. So in my games, I always go for Sword or Glove if I want to play Ashe. During stage 1, you want to pick up units that you can 2-star and that synergize well together. It is all about making the best opener for stage 2 here. Some good openers you can get for this comp is Brawler Opener. Here Nunu is your main carry. Keep her in the middle so that she doesn't take initial damage and is able to eat the other enemies. If you didn't get a Chosen Brawler, just run another Brawler instead of Lulu. Aphelios carry. This is even better if you get a Moonlight Chosen. If not, just add a Moonlight in at level 5. Aphelios is your carry and item carrier for Ashe. Cultist Keepers. This is the strongest opener that you can consistently hit. Here TF seems like your carry. The main carry is actually Galio from the trait. Yasuo carry. Here Yasuo can carry Ashe items, and as long as he has 2 duelists, he should do fine. The other 2 units are preferably Brawlers, but can be 2 Vanguards or 2 Keepers as well. Zed carry. Here Zed carries Ashe items. The frontline is preferably Brawlers again, but can be Keepers as well. If you find an Evelyn for another shade, make sure to fit her in so Zed can drop aggro and carry even harder. During the early game, you want to make items if you have 4 or more components. Avoid slamming Giant Slayer or QSS unless you are 100% sure you want to play Ashe, as those items don't do anything in the early game. Other great items to slam are Sunfire Cape, Bramble Vest, Locket, Hajj, and Thieves Gloves. During the early game, you either level aggressively and try to win streak, or you play passive for a loss streak to build up a strong economy. If you want to learn more about how to manage your economy, check out my economy and leveling guide for set 4, link in the description. After the Krugs round, you should have a bit more information about which comp you want to play. If you want to play Ashe, you should have at least 1 out of the 4 components needed to make QSS and Giant Slayer, but it's preferred to have 2 or more. If you have the items but you're missing a lot of the units, you generally want to roll a bit on level 6 to find a relevant chosen for the Ashe comp, as well as finding some of the brawlers. You also need an item carrier. The best mid-game boards for Brawler Ashe is Brawler Frontline with either Zed or Akali as a mid-game carry and item carrier, Cultist with Kalista as your mid-game carry and item carrier, Kindred or Aphelios as your mid-game carry and item carrier, preferably with a Brawler Frontline. I just want to add that these builds are not the only ones that work in the mid-game. You can run a lot of different units and still be successful. These are just mid-game comps to aim for if you're unfamiliar with how to play the mid-game. During the mid-game, it's also crucial to scout. When scouting, you're looking to see how people are positioned, which synergies and items do they have, and if your build is contested by multiple people. If a lot of people have Sunfire Cape, Morello, or a unit that applies grievous wounds like Katarina, making items like Bloodthirster or Hajj for Ashe is not going to give as much value. Similarly, if no one has any of that, Bloodthirster and Hajj will be stronger as they will always give full healing value. If you see that a lot of people are trying to play Brawler Ashe, you might want to pivot. Other builds that use similar items as Brawler Ashe is either Jhin Carry and Cultists or Dusks, and even Spirit Shades or Enlightened Talon can do fine. At stage 4-1 or 4-2, you want to level to 7 and roll down. If you are very healthy, typically 70 plus health, then it's fine to not roll and look to go 8 a bit sooner. To stabilize at level 7, you generally need half your board 2-star, as well as an Ashe or a 2-star Kindred carrying her items. You also don't want to roll lower than 10 to 20 gold, as you still need the money to go to level 8. At stage 5-1 or 5-2, you will level to 8 and roll down here as you're looking to 2-star everything except for Set. Going level 8 is really important as we always need Set, and in the Elderwood variant, we always need Ezreal. In addition, we have a much higher chance of hitting 3-star forecasts at level 8. The build is very linear, which is what makes this comp very easy to play. But the small changes you can do here is to take out 2 brawlers for either 2 Mystic or Ezreal Lux for Dazzler. It is usually not worth it to add more hunters as that synergy only benefits Ashe. The other hunters don't do enough damage for it to be worth it for your team. Once you're stable at level 8, you either push for level 9 or you roll for 3-star forecasts. Level 9 usually doesn't give you much besides adding in an Ezreal or another legendary. Therefore, it's generally better to roll for 3 stars instead. If you are contested, you should push level 9 as it is very hard to hit 3-star forecasts with many of the units being out of the pool. Your 3-star priority is Ashe, Warwick, then Nunu. You will never 3-star all of these, so go for whichever you're most likely to hit. First, we'll go through some general positioning with this comp. Then we'll go over some more in-depth positioning examples. General positioning will look like this. Since there are assassins in most comps and we don't have enough item slots to make GA on Ashe, we have to clump up like this. This is to make sure that Ashe is not the one that gets targeted by the infiltrators, and to make sure that she stays safe throughout the fight. Set is in the front line because we want him to go and do push-ups as early into the fight as possible so that he can do true damage at the end of the fight. The brawlers you want to keep up front is Vi, Sylas, Maokai, and Warwick. This is because they have CC abilities that buys us time for both Set to heal up and for Ashe to shred through as many units as possible. Moving on to some more in-depth positioning examples. Against the first guy, the big threats are Riven and Jhin. Here Vi is right side so that she will ult and break the armor of Aatrox. Maokai is in the middle so that his ult has a chance of slowing multiple enemies. Set is in the middle so that his ult will deal more AoE damage. Against the second guy, the big threats are Riven and Jhin. Set is lined up so that he gets a better ultimate angle, and he also tanks damage from Jhin. Sylas is on the left side so that he has a chance of mana reaving Cassiopeia, as well as Azir. Vi is positioned so that she breaks the armor of Thresh and also has a chance of breaking Aatrox's armor. In the mirror matchup, it's all about getting the best set ults as possible since it will deal a ton of damage when throwing a brawler unit. We also split up our frontline to decrease the value of the enemy set. Here our set is positioned to throw the Nunu depending on who walks first. It can also hit and deal damage to the enemy Ashe. Maokai is positioned so that it gets targeted by the enemy set and makes it get less value. He also has a chance to slow set to potentially not make him ult. Against the fourth guy, Nunu is positioned so that she eats Cassiopeia. Set is positioned in the middle so that he can slam Aatrox into Ahri. Vi and Sylas are on the left side so that they break the armor and mana reave Sejuani. As you might have noticed, the positioning for this comp is very basic. You either full backline or full frontline in most cases. That's why this is a very easy comp to play. The biggest thing is utilizing the abilities of the frontliners properly to get a bigger advantage. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you want to get better at TFT, join the Discord. We got over 1,000 other players there who are hungry to climb. And if you want to get coached by me, the information is over on the Discord server as well. So take care and see you in the next video.